I didn't know when I was a kid. I was born in the reservation in South Dakota, and when I was born, all we had was horse and wagons. And we went across the reservation in horse and wagons. It'd take a couple of days to get to where we were going. And I thought it was my happiness to ride on horses when I was a kid, to ride along wagon and horses. And when I got tired of riding, I'd run. And then if I got tired, I'd get in the back of the wagon and I'd go right down the road bouncing around with my grandmothers and grandfathers. And I didn't know it was a Holocaust that took place. And I think of their story of what they went through. And I always see kind of a sadness in the eyes of the leaders because I think they knew at that time what was coming. There would be a great change. I don't think they knew how much of a change. The leaders like Sitting Bull and Geronimo and Chief Joseph, they were the leaders who experienced the brunt of the Holocaust coming on, where they were put in concentration camps. And here, I want to do a movie of this man. I want to do a movie of Sitting Bull to show how Sitting Bull was assassinated, and all the other great leaders were assassinated. As many things go through my mind that what these leaders were thinking at the time when it was getting near the end of their journey as defending the land and defending the children and defending the people. They were the freedom fighters of the day, and that's the way I look at the American Indian movement, as a liberation struggle, continuing what they did. And America doesn't see that people all over the world have their own liberation struggles, and America's always making them look out as terrorists, as insurgents. But I think I should put on that nice T-shirt of Geronimo and his warriors, and it says Homeland Security, fighting terrorism since 1492. That's what these warriors were doing, Chief Joseph, Sitting Bull. And it was about fighting them for a way of life, and that way of life was an environmental way of life, basically. For a life that lived with the earth, not off the earth. And people say, well, we're all polluting nowadays, even Indians. I say, yeah, but we give thanks for what we take. We don't see the rest of the society giving thanks. They go to the market and they take vegetables and meats and all the products, and they never give thanks for it. They never know that that's what it's about, is giving thanks for what you take.
There's another part of it too where people are, because they're not quite sure who to be thankful to. You know what I mean? They're kind of caught where they've let go of maybe even intentionally rejecting an idea of God as some sort of figure that they can imagine, some sort of humanoid, sort of and not quite know what to hold on to, the mystery, or something that just the gratitude, being thankful, what being thankful does, how it changes changes scarcity to abundance. By being thankful, And,
well, we live in a society that feels like it's everything is deserving. You're deserving. I mean, you get the money, you deserve this, without the thanks. So you get this money, and you say, well, I got my deserving.
Right.
So then you go out and that's it. But no, they don't relate to the earth that it comes from. And we need to teach that back in a society, that about the earth they live on is a living thing, that they the water we drink is the blood of all life. That the things that we take every day need to be renewed as a gift of Mother Earth, and we have to renew our understanding of giving thanks back to in order to set things in balance and put ourselves in balance with Earth. Well, you know, where do we get started in reversing that so that people begin to learn? It's not just kids, it's adults. Mm-hmm. Adults have really lacked in leading the way for the kids, the younger generations. We're almost dealing with a lost generation because the adult generation is lost. They lost their direction. Even with the scientists who make the assumptions, they've been saying for years, oh no, it's not global warming. So we have scientists arguing among themselves, is it global warming or not? And here the average person is saying, well, I heard this, I heard that scientist say, no, it isn't. I heard this scientist say, yes, it is. So we have an argument going within the people with the experts arguing among themselves, leaving the people hung up with a kind of thinking that, well, even the experts don't know. So where do we start? I think it's taking the young kids and making them understand right from the beginning. And we should put out a book that shows that all living things are people. That the eagles, the winged ones, are the winged people. The four-leggeds are the four-legged people. That the fish are the fish people. We are just the two-legged people. Insects are the insect people. So they understand that we're all a family on Earth that is called Mother. It's not called Father Earth, it's Mother Earth. And we have to take our younger generation to that place. Even our adults that don't even understand this concept of Mother Earth. They're just now beginning to use it, where we find these nice people who are called New Agers, who start to understand because they understand it from the Indian spirituality, that it's Mother Earth, it's a spiritual being that we're living on, and that we have to develop an understanding of what that Mother Earth really does, provides us. It's a breathing thing. It sheds leaves in the winter, in the fall, and the leaves come out in the spring. All life is born, and it gives us everything that we need to eat. All things live off this great Mother, and we have to start really taking that to that place where people understand that's what it is. And it's not corporations that feed us, it's our Mother Earth. And people become so involved in that paycheck that's from Mother, the corporations, that they disassociate everything else, and it's not real.
You talk about the insect people, and I'm sitting here guiltily thinking about how many flies did I swat on the houseboat vacation I was on.
Yeah. Well, you can't let them sit there, but...
And of course, you know, it's interesting how where everybody draws their circle of where it's, you know, it's friendly and it's part of us versus, I mean, like most of my friends would that I know would not reach out and kick a pet around.
Uh-huh.
But most of my friends, with the exception of some, would swat a fly.
Uh-huh.
You know, all creation wasn't made for man's convenience.
Yeah.
Flies are a thing of, they land on the dead of the earth, and they create a decay to go back into the earth by creating maggots. So there's a necessary part of what they are about.
Right.
And if you sit still long enough, they might think you're dead.
Yeah.
I've been worrying more about that lately.
And if you look up, and there might be buzzards circling around, so you got to move every once in a while. But anyway, flies are there for a purpose,
Yes.
to create this chain of return back to Earth. So, you know, that everything is not really for the convenience of man. And that man has to really adjust to what flies and all the negative things we think of as negative as a purpose. And if we understand that, then we can say, well, we're living together on this thing as part of everything. Whatever we're after, I think our society has lost grip of its generations, younger generation. And teaching to go back to Earth, even our teachers have to go back to it first. They have to start understanding that, how we go back to Earth. And I think one of the ways has been lost is we pray to God through the tree in the Indian way. We pray to God through the buffalo, Tatanka. We pray to God through all living things, the turtle, the deer, the eagle, whatever clan we belong to, we pray to God through that spirit. And the tree are the standing spirits, the standing people. And we have to look at the tree as a living thing, and that'll bring us back to Earth. And it was the Roman Catholic Church that forbid the people in Europe to pray to God through the tree. They made them stop that, and that's why they used to pray to God through the tree too, and that's how the Christmas tree gets in the house. We have to get them back to the earth. Connect them back to the earth by spiritual ways. There ain't no other way that's going to connect us back. You can put books out and say environment, and this is all that, and you can even say it's our mother, but if they don't connect to it spiritually, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There ain't a great amount of money or one corporation or one person that can make this change unless we all understand we're on a spiritual journey. When you go back to the old ways, we all pray to God through the tree in one way or another, where we have a spiritual relationship with the tree. If you look in India, at the center of every one of its spiritual design of life, there's that woman in the center. And long ago, a woman came to us through a tree. And long ago, a woman brought us a bundle. Long ago, we were all connected to this woman. We still are, we just don't know it. And that we have to kind of look in things that way. And we have to go beyond a thing which is really hard for Christians to understand, another way of life to look at God. So I think Christians tend to look down on any other religion other than Christianity. And therein is a huge mistake, a roadblock of understanding.
Do you think that that's more so with Christianity than it is with Islam or Judaism or Buddhism or?
I equate Islam and Christianity as the same. They both have missionaries. I think the only people that should be Muslim or Christian is Christians or Muslims. They're the ones who think that they should all be that way, which is a form of intolerance. So I think they both carry a kind of ignorance and a dark spot, blind spot with them by thinking that way. And so if you don't do that, it's never going to get done. It's never going to get done spiritually. But how do we speak to those two ways of thinking? How do we get to that, to change a people's attitude, a people's thinking about it? Because prayer to God through the tree, everybody did that on earth at one time. We should all be standing in the same circle, you know, because we're all the children of the same one, the same Creator. And sometimes we understand that creator as a woman. And we should get into that thinking too, because it's just not one or the other now. It's a kind of a more complete thinking when you take it that we are all the children of the same creator. So I think people, if they're living on Indian land, they should look into the Indian spirituality, which they never have. I think that's where the Indian point of view is missing in the consciousness of Americans and the world. And I think that we have to open our minds, because this is a time of life where the earth is going to be making statements, and if you don't understand what's going on, you're not going to understand when it comes your time to be a victim of what's happening with the earth. Then you won't be so much of a victim if you understand it. You say, okay, this is Mother Earth making her statement.
Yeah, I think that's, especially this with the tsunami and then Katrina and stuff, it sure makes you think, wow, things can change way more than and way faster than you normally think about.
There are all the spirits. We have to look again that everything is a sacred. That's how Indian people view it. And that's how it all should be understood, that the ground we walk on is sacred. But if we let corporations just govern our lives, then people won't have no chance to look outside of the box that they live in. And that the water is a sacred spirit. The wind is a sacred spirit, because like you lost your one valued thing, and I lost my lung.
Yeah.
See, my air got shut off to where I only had about 20% of one lung, and then I would start realizing how much time do I have left.
Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah.
So now that I got this lung, and I pray to that spirit of that person that's keeping me alive, that other lung, it's a whole different appreciation of daily living, different appreciation of what we're going through and how we should look at things and how much time do we have left. And I used to hear in the 70s, some of the elders say we would see America come and go. And I wondered what generation that would be. What would be causing that? And I realized that after looking at that and questioning that, what generation, what would be the cause of that? What would be the circumstances? And it is that it's about the environment getting corrupted more and more over the last 25 years, that we see America in its threshold of passing. And people say that, well, we'll develop cars that'll help change that. I don't think they can do it fast enough. We see, Indian people, we take a long view of America. Chief Seattle wrote the words of a very poignant words about the environment 150 years ago, when he saw then what was happening. If that was 150 years ago, he wrote this letter, then 150 years have passed and not much has really been done, but rather just take from earth and corrupt the earth more, and the consciousness hasn't been turned around. The world leaders met in Brazil the last time, or haven't they met just recently again, about the environment, and nothing is done. Nothing is really being said on behalf of the earth. So if that's where the consciousness is, then you see a world kind of going down the tubes with these rush hours that are corrupting the earth more every day and night. And that's not it's getting worse. And if you see why the storms are worse on the earth, it's because of that. And the storms will lash out more. And for all of us, we're leaving our children in peril because, like you say, the water is getting corrupted to the point even children get more cancers now because of the water. It's got so much chemicals. You hear about where even the drugs that people throw out, they throw it down the toilets,
Right.
and then flush it in, and then the water's full of these drugs, and they're replenishing the water. Where's San Diego or somewhere they're doing re-treated water to feed back into the younger generations. So it's all in a corrupted place. And I think mankind has to kind of reckon with that in the right way, or the children, the younger generations, are going to become the new victims of their time, of what we have done as elders, as the older, the parents of them.
We're talking about the leadership meeting and the Brazilian meetings.
Yes, environmental.
Made me think of this thing that somebody was talking about last night, where the Bush was in a meeting, and they were saying we had three. We had some soldiers from some small country. 3 of those died, and 4 others from 4 American soldiers, and we lost 3 Brazilian soldiers. He said, "Oh no, that's terrible. That's a tragedy. How many is a Brazilian anyway?"
How many is a Brazilian?
So that's just if we could get a Brazilian leaders together.
National Geographic did a real eye-opener on the amount of pollution that's in the air in China is so heavy that people are showing up, living around places where just toxins are dumped here and there, and they're living with underground waters, and they're living with the smoke and the amount of cars because they have more cars going on the road than any rate of a country exploding in the economic capitalism thing. So capitalism is a thruster toward corruption on every level.
Yeah.
And even while it has good sides of giving a modern living for everybody, it corrupts on this other end where the cancer, even any form of disruption of the body is corruption from the environment. And you got to look at it that way because it increases and increases. So I don't think that capitalism has a foot to stand on in the long run.
Yeah. Well, that's that difference between capitalism and communism, because capitalism is man exploiting man, and communism is just the other way around.
I'm not speaking of either, and I hate to even think of that. There's a difference between theocracy and spirituality, but that's where I feel that when Black Elk wrote his book, Black Elk Speaks, and Neihart published it, he thought this religion could sweep the world because it's premised with the earth and the Creator and all things as sacred. He felt that this could be a way for man to understand their existence on earth, and it would sweep the world. But when he published it in America, it didn't even sell, because at the time, most Americans thought Indians were savages yet, and it didn't even get off the ground. So when Carl Jung read it in Germany, he had it published in Germany, and it sold millions right away. And then it backfired and came back here as a great worthy statement, what Black Elk was speaking about, how to understand your spiritual existence on earth. And it doesn't involve a religion, it involves a spiritual understanding much like Chinese spirituality too.
A relationship.
A relationship, yes, with that. And as to why Chinese eat the dog is to get the chi of the spirit, the chi of the animal. And the same way we do, to get that chi of that animal, to acknowledge the spirit of all things is kind of where we need to work toward. We don't need a religion to do it. You just have a sense of spirituality with the earth. Because everything is about the earth and what we get from it, what the earth gives to us, and how we are related to the earth. If we don't understand that, then we might as well keep going down the freeways and ignore everything else, because it's coming. The big tsunami is going to come. More tsunami is going to come. The earth will purify itself, and that's why I live under sea level here, and I'm moving from here. Spiritual leaders have told me to move away from the shore. And I think that hint has been going out around the world in a lot of places. And if you're living near the shore, you have to face the consequence of the Mother Earth making statements, right, to affect you. And it's interesting how other parts of the world have been affected, but not so much America. Until recently, you know, it's a year ago, we're speaking about a year ago, the tsunami in Indonesia.
Yeah.
And a year ago, we saw something huge where Mother Earth made a statement that no one can control that. It's the ocean breathing. It's the ocean breathing in a huge way. And when it breathes in a form like that, and what caused that was an earthquake in the ocean.
Right.
See, earthquakes, we live in the heart of Earthquake Alley on the Pacific Rim. And they say there's going to be more sinkholes in the earth and earthquakes that happen. Mm-hmm. And they say America should be prepared.
It's been real interesting sitting here watching you work on this, Floyd, because it's kind of like you're just being with it, you know, and yet over this time, there's much more clarity coming out, and the eyes, the lines, the shape. You make little changes at this point, huh?
To me, I look into the spirit of these men. I look at their faces so long. It's like looking into their spirit, and I kind of gain a little inspiration and strength from their spirit. And when I was doing Sitting Bull, that's kind of exactly what I was feeling when I did Sitting Bull, and I felt his spirit just kind of just developing, and when I finally reached at a certain point, I said, "That's it. That's kind of what I'll leave it. There's something good here," and that's how I think we need to. I often wanted to go start this with you, Max. If we got someone like Jim Liu, someone from the black community, and to go sit in classrooms together, and have us all look at it, students that way, and students look at us that way, to see this oneness of all people. And like Chuck Robertson, my cousin, he always taught that circle concept.
Yes. Yeah.
Remember Chuck?
Yeah.
He was a real intellect on that circle.
Yes.
You were born out of a circle, he would say.
Yeah.
You come out of a circle. And we live in this cycle of life. So we sit in this circle to understand that we're all part of that circle. You know, just drive that circle home with all people. So I think that's kind of something that could be taken to schools.
Well, that's a lot of what we're looking to do with LAP. It's like get people in circles and video it and share it, because it's really interesting. People can look at each other and see each other, you know, and then something different happens.
Not long ago, the lights went out in the East Coast, and all the people, millions of people on the East Coast had only Fruit Loops, SpaghettiOs, and peanut butter to eat for days. And we were doing the Sundance, and we were sleeping in teepees and cooking on the ground. And the medicine man came through the camp and said, "Now you know why we have to keep our own ways, why we should hang on to these ways, because the lights will go out again. The lights will go out again, and who knows for how long. And if that does happen, we'll just set up our teepees again. We'll just put our fire on the ground and cook our food. But if you're sitting in a high-rise apartment, you can't do that. Right. Everything you own is going to be rendered useless."